Everybody, CVM here with BBD doing another Versus Video Deck Tech. We're back on Standard after having some fun last week with Legacy.
Well, maybe one of us had fun.
I had a lot of fun. Even though I didn't get to stifle anything, I still had a lot of fun. So I'm playing the Rakdos Aggro deck that won Grand Prix Santiago a few weeks back. So this deck has kind of fallen to the wayside since everybody was just getting all hyped up for the Legacy Grand Prix in Washington, D.C. But I think this deck is just very, very sweet. I played a Green-Red Devotion deck and an IQ shortly after this deck won Santiago, and it basically makes Green-Red Devotion unplayable because you can't beat Mogus' Marauder. It's pretty unfortunate, but this deck is actually really sweet. So we have a very aggressive package with 8 2-power 1-drops. We have some 3-power 2-drops and some 2-power 2-drops that both have haste. And then we have Thrill Kill Assassin just because it has a cool name, so he's probably decided to play one. The Grand Prix was in Santiago, so I imagine that Thrill Kill Assassin in Portuguese is probably just looks really cool anyway, so that's why he played it in this deck.
It is also a human for Zathrid.
Correct, it is a human for Zathrid. And then we have our Mogus' Marauder and Zathrid Necromancer, and then the curve tops out at Exava. So Zathrid Necromancer is a card that we saw a lot of success in the last standard format before Theros came out. And in this deck, it sees a lot of success since we have Tormented Hero, Spike Jester, Thrill Kill, Marauder, Necromancer, and Exava are actually all humans. So we are a very aggressive deck that has some staying power against Supreme Verdict because of Necromancer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's actually kind of ridiculous how many of these, dead-looking guys are humans.
I know, right?
It just looks like the zombie apocalypse is upon us, but they're all still human. I don't know.
They're still human. It takes a little while. The transformation is not complete yet. Fortunately, Spike Jester is a goblin and not a human.
Guess the joke's on you.
Yeah, that's true. So we also have 4 Madcap skills. So this deck, I really like Madcap skills. I feel like the card can be a liability a lot of times. However, with the way the format is shaping up with Mono Blue Devotion, Green Red Devotion, there's not a lot of main deck actual spot removal, and so Madcap skills a lot of times is just like a 2-mana Lightning Axe. You're gonna 5 them, and then they might have an answer, and then if they don't, they're just dead. And you even get some synergy with Tormented Hero, since Turbo Tormented Hero into Madcap skills is actually 6 damage total because of the trigger. We have a couple removal spells with Lightning Strike and Doomblade. And looking at the mana, we don't have any Mutavaults. So, do you think Mutavault should be in this deck?
I absolutely do not. Because you want to be able to cast Spike Jester on turn 2.
That is correct. I actually had a deck similar to this that I was working on when we were testing for Dublin. And I would always have Spike Jester on turn 2, and BBD could never beat the deck.
Every single game. It's just not. It just wasn't real. It just wasn't real life.
We determined that outside of having the nut drive every time, the deck wasn't very good. But we didn't have Exava, and we didn't have a full 4 Marauders, and we weren't on Zathrid Necromancer. So I think if we would have went with it a little bit further, we might have found this build. But I'm definitely excited to play the deck. I have experience with this type of deck, so hopefully I don't misplay too bad. I'm a little sick, for those of you that can hear me being very nasally, so I do apologize. But I'm really excited. So do you think this deck is just a flash in the pan, won the GP, or do you think it actually has a chance to stick around? Because it hasn't placed since then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of both, to be honest. Because I think it's kind of a metagame deck. I think it's the kind of deck that's going to prey on decks that just can't interact. But there are a lot of decks that play black creatures or whatever, where Mogus Marauder is just not really doing enough, or decks that are just able to interact faster. I think the White Weenie decks has a very good matchup against this kind of a deck, just because it can put the same kind of guys into play earlier, but guys like Precinct Captain or whatever are just a beating for this deck to deal with. Yeah. So I think it is definitely a metagame deck. It definitely comes down to what are people playing, but depending on what that is, I think it's very good.
Yep. Now it's important to note that Cackler, Freak, Jester, and Rakdos are all black and red. So if you happen to give them Intimidate, cards like Frostburn Weird can still block.
Yep.
And so can Boros Reckoner.
Yeah, I expect to block a lot of those guys with Boros Reckoner.
Really awkward.
Yep.
So here's the main deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard and see what spicy options we have in our 14-card sideboard plus a Rakdos Guildgate. Everybody, we're here with the sideboard for the Rakdos Aggro deck. So we'll cap it off with the most powerful card in the 75. We have the Singleton Rakdos Guildgate in the sideboard.
You know, I want to say that is just, this guy's a man after my own heart. He knows the power of the Guildgate.
That's why he did it. The whole reason he built the deck and won the Grand Prix was because he wanted it to be in a BBD versus video. So,
oh, job well done.
Here you go. Now, I imagine that it's in there to bring in when we have bring our 4s in, because the deck only plays 22 lands in the main. So we have 2 Whips, 2 Erebos, and 2 Burning Earth. Whip is just a very good card in the aggressive mirrors, just giving all your guys lifelink is just very powerful. Plus, it'll give you a little bit of reach with being able to unearth your guys with the tap ability. And we even have Mogus' Marauder just to get extra value out of the Intimidate.
Yeah, I'd love to whip back a Marauder. Woo!
It's pretty sweet.
Get them all in there.
Erebos is always going to be turned on, and it stops our opponent from gaining life with Sphinx's Revelation. So that's going to be extremely important.
I mean, I just want to say that Erebos should probably see a doctor if he's been turned on for more than 4 hours. But please continue. Yeah.
That is true. I mean, he does have a pretty big butt.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a lot of mirrors in the underworld. Now, we do have a Burning Earth as well to come in against decks that have lots of non-basics. Most of the Esper decks are playing anywhere from like 3 to 7 non-basic lands, so Burning Earth is good against them. I'm not sure if I actually want it in our matchup today because you have like 8 basics.
Plus Nykthos.
But you still have 20 non-basics, so
true.
If you don't have a Nykthos, it could be good. I don't know, we'll find out. We do have 4 Thoughtseize. I imagine these are also for the Supreme Verdicts and Sphinx's Revelations. Mizian Mortars, just a good way to kill cards like Frostburn Weird that actually stonewall our entire team.
Or the Baron. The Baron seems rough against you.
Yeah, and the Baron. And then we have Dreadbore that doesn't kill Blood Baron, but still kills Frostburn Weird.
Yep.
So here's the sideboard for the deck. I'm really excited to play the deck. I think it's still pretty good. It's definitely fun to play, just being very aggressive. And hopefully I don't just get the crap beat out of me. Because I feel like he's just going to have Boros Reckoner every game and I'm going to lose to it. But we'll figure out what happens.
Hopefully I do. Probably won't.
So let's jump into the games.